Hello, and welcome to the Sun-Earth Systems Notes. Today, we're going to be watching this video while you fill in your Sun-Earth Systems Notes outline, which you will find in your OneNote notebook under Astronomy. You will want to split screen with this video as well as those notes and fill it in as we follow along and fill this out together. So first, we're going to start up with a couple of questions to ponder. The first one is, why does the sun seem to rise in the east and set in the west? So on these three questions, you're going to write down why you think the sunrise seems to rise in the east and set in the west on this one. Our second question is, what season is the sun the highest in the sky in the northern hemisphere? So you have a 25% chance of getting that right. Is it summer, fall, winter, or spring? And number 3 says, what causes the seasons? What do you think causes the seasons that we experience here on Earth? Remember, if I'm ever going too fast, you can always pause it and then push play when you're ready to move along. Where the sun sets. It says, during winter, why does the sun seem to rise in the southeast and set in the southwest? The answer to that is that it is lower in the sky. Missouri is tilted away from the sun, and there are fewer daylight hours. It always seems a little darker and gloomier during the winter. This is part of the reason why. Sun's lower in the sky, we're tilted away from the sun, and there are fewer daylight hours. Then it asks, during the summer, why does the sun seem to rise in the northeast and set in the northwest? Well, the opposite is true. The sun is higher in the sky. Missouri is tilted toward the sun, and there are longer daylight hours. Now we're moving on to the section called Changes in Sunlight. Why is the sun never directly overhead in the United States? Well, we're north of the equator. If we lived on the equator, the sun would be directly overhead at certain points. Then it asks, why are there changes in the number of hours of sunlight, time, and location of the sunrise and sunset throughout the year? Well, the biggest contributor is that there is a tilt of the Earth, so the tilt of the Earth, and the position in orbit around the sun. Where are we in regards to our journey around the sun? Up next is our little table here. It says position in the sky. Well, we just noticed that the sun in winter is lower. In the summer, it's higher. In winter, it's south of the equator. In summer, it's north of the equator. That's for location. For intensity, in winter, it's less intense, and in summer, it's more intense. And that's because we're tilted away from the sun in the winter and toward the sun in the summer. The funny thing is that the Earth is actually closest to the sun in the winter because of the shape of our orbit. And we're going to look at a couple of pictures here in a second that shows that. But we're actually closer to the sun in the winter. And then in the fall and spring, the number of daylight and darkness hours are more equal. That's where we get the autumnal and the vernal equinox. Up next it says, consider these terms. Tilt, that causes the change in amount of sunlight. That's what gives us our main contributor to our seasons. Caused, which is the next word, caused by the tilt of the earth and its position in its orbit around the sun, not the distance from the sun. And the ellipse, it's not a perfect circle that we're traveling around the sun, it's an ellipse. It's the path Earth takes around the sun, and it is not a circle. So let's look at these pictures. You can see spring and autumn were both kind of tilted, not really at or away from the sun, but in summer, our axis right there is tilted towards the sun, and in winter, for us, the northern hemisphere, is tilted away from the sun. And then if we were at the equator, the sun would be directly overhead. This is just another picture of our seasons, telling us when our solstice and our equinox are. We're obviously not here on our journey, but North America is right there. So here are our questions to ponder, and I want you to try and answer these. And I'll be checking around on the notes. It says, why does the sun seem to rise in the east and set in the west? During what season is the sun the highest in the sky? Remember, that's a summer, fall, spring, or winter. And what is the main cause of the seasons? And these are our Sun-Earth system notes.